Welcome to After Dark Stories. Here we explore the natural and supernatural. If you like these multi-part videos, please subscribe, as I will be posting full stories and episodes. Here we explore the natural and supernatural. If you like these multi-part videos, please subscribe, as I will be posting full stories and episodes. But don't worry, each story has its own playlist just for your pleasure. Now sit back, relax, and let's explore the unknown. Shadows of the Past. Chapter 1. The Undertaker's Solitude. In the small, secluded town of Willow Creek, nestled between dense forests and rolling hills, life flowed at a slow but steady pace. The townsfolk knew each other well, their lives woven together by a tapestry of shared histories and memories. However, not all stories carried the warmth of camaraderie. Some were cloaked in shadows, whispering secrets of heartache and loss. Amongst the somber buildings of Willow Creek stood a modest establishment with a weathered sign swinging gently in the breeze. Grayson and Sons, Undertakers, read the faded letters. This was where Samuel Grayson, the last of his line, carried out his father's legacy. The Undertaker was a man of few words, but of profound presence. He had mastered the art of silence, finding a peculiar comfort in the solitude of his trade. The town often averted its gaze from the imposing building, avoiding the thoughts of mortality that the sight evoked. Samuel, however, embraced this silence, believing there was profound beauty in the passage of time, though his life had become defined by the aching absence of companionship. Samuel had lived alone in his family's ancestral home since the death of his parents 5 years prior. The once vibrant walls grew dim and dusty, echoing loneliness. He found solace in the meticulous care of the departed, ensuring they were remembered with dignity. Still, the weight of his own solitude compounded with each farewell he rendered, leaving him feeling more like a ghost than a man tethered to life. Each day he prepared the bodies, dressed them in the finest garments, and laid them to rest in the tranquil grounds of Willow Creek Cemetery. Yet the haunting specter of grief always loomed over him, threatening to suffocate any semblance of joy. He became a steadfast observer of life from behind the heavy oak door, ever present at the edge of living. A spectator in his own existence. Chapter 2. The Orphan's Lament. On the outskirts of Willow Creek, as winter's chill approached, a thin wisp of smoke rose from a dilapidated cabin. Inside, a flickering candle illuminated the face of a young girl named Evie. At 12 years old, Evie's life had been painted with strokes of hardship. She had lost her parents in a tragic accident 2 years prior, leaving her to navigate a harsh world alone. Orphaned and adrift, Evie found herself in the care of a distant relative who preferred her absence to her presence. After weeks of neglect, she took the courage to flee, seeking solace in the familiar woods that cradled the town. To survive, she employed her resourcefulness, hunting for food, sheltering amidst the trees, and relying on the whispers of nature. However, the cold was unforgiving, and winter's grip was tightening. Her heart ached for companionship and safety. Often she would wander near the cemetery, drawn to the tranquility it exuded, a stark contrast to the turmoil within her heart. In the quiet hours, she would watch Samuel working, caught up in the reverence he bestowed upon the dead. Despite her own struggles, Evie felt a connection to the Undertaker. She often dreamed of the stories the graves might tell, the lives that once thrived within those tombstones. Samuel's solitude mirrored her own. She longed for a glimpse of his world, believing perhaps that if she could understand his pain, she might find her way through her own. As winter deepened, the allure of the cemetery faded under mounds of snow, but Evie remained undaunted. It was during one such venture, her breath visible in the frosty air, that her life took an unexpected turn. Chapter 3. The Ominous Event. On a particularly bitter night, the town of Willow Creek was alerted to a strange occurrence. The earth trembled beneath their feet, and a low rumbling sound echoed through the valley. People rushed outside, bewildered, as an unnatural darkness descended upon their quiet town. An ominous shadow stretched across the sky, swallowing the moon and stars. Samuel, having finished his preparations for another funeral, was drawn outside by the energy of panic that enveloped the town. He stood in the chilling wind, the unease curling at the edges of his soul. Fear rippled through the air, palpable and suffocating. He sought answers, but found only confusion in the eyes of the townspeople. Among the frightened faces, he caught a glimpse of Evie, standing at the edge of the cemetery. Her wild hair danced in the wind, eyes wide with a mix of fear and awe. Samuel felt an inexplicable urge to protect the fragile girl, who seemed so lost, yet so resolute. "Evie," he called, his voice cutting through the turmoil. She turned to him, relief flooding her features. As she rushed towards him, he knelt to meet her. "You shouldn't be out here alone. It's not safe." The quake intensified, and a cold wind howled, chilling Samuel to the bone. Without a moment's hesitation, he urged Evie to follow him back into the sanctuary of the undertaking parlor, away from the chaos unraveling outside. Chapter 4. Finding Shelter. Inside the dimly lit parlor, Samuel lit a lantern, casting warm shadows across the room. The atmosphere thickened with unspoken fears, and Evie shifted nervously, unsure of how to express her gratitude for his concern. They were both trapped in their own webs of solitude, yet an unspoken bond began to weave between them. "What do you think it is?" Evie asked, her voice trembling slightly. Samuel sighed deeply, the weight of uncertainty pressing on him. I don't know, but I've never felt anything like it. This isn't just a storm, it feels ominous." They sat in silence, the rumblings outside echoing like distant thunder. Samuel, feeling the gnaw of anxiety, began to turn to practical matters. "We should prepare," he said, breaking the stillness. "Gather supplies. If something is coming, we need to be ready." Evie's eyes lit up with purpose. "I can help," she exclaimed, a spark igniting in her heart. Despite feeling like mere shadows in that moment, they found a shared determination. Chapter 5. The Bond That Forms. As they rummaged through the parlor, Evie's nimble fingers worked in unison with Samuel's steady hands. They stocked blankets, canned goods, and even a few candles. Evie shared stories of her escapades in the woods, her laughter mingling with Samuel's soft chuckles, creating a warmth that began to thaw the encroaching chill. "It's not so bad, is it?" Evie said, a hopeful glint in her eyes. "You and we're working together." Samuel marveled at her spirit. Here was a child who had faced loss, yet brought light to darkness. In her presence, he felt a spark of life he hadn't felt for years. He knew that if they were to survive whatever storm loomed ahead, they would need each other far more than they'd initially realized. As twilight deepened, the tremors outside faded and a stillness enveloped the town. They settled down beside the lantern, their eyes gazing into its flickering glow. "I suppose you don't have a real home?" Samuel ventured cautiously. Evie nodded, her smile dimming. I don't really have a family either. Samuel's heart squeezed at her vulnerability, a pang of guilt gnawing at him. He was a caretaker of the dead, but had neglected the living around him. You can stay here as long as you need. It's not much, but you're safe with me, he offered, surprising himself with the sincerity of his words. Evie's face broke into a grin, and the gratitude that shone in her eyes warmed him more than the lantern's flame. Chapter 6: Shadows of the Past. As weeks passed, the ominous event seemed to herald a strange new beginning rather than an ending. The initial quake remained a mystery, yet it had forged an unbreakable bond between Samuel and Evie. Together, they faced each day, often sitting in comfortable silence, each finding solace in their shared presence, even amidst the echoes of grief. Evie helped with paperwork and filing, fascinated by the stories each name inscribed on the epitaphs told. Samuel found himself inadvertently sharing stories about his parents, tales of love, legacy, and their artistry in life that mirrored his own craft. He watched her absorb these lessons, her thirst for knowledge reigniting a passion within him he thought lost. One overcast afternoon, as Samuel prepared for another funeral, leaving Evie to tidy the parlor, he sensed a weight of apprehension. The townsfolk whispered of strange happenings, an eerie presence that loomed over Willow Creek, as if shadows from the past had come to claim more than just the deceased. It was then that Samuel began receiving odd requests. A few townspeople approached him in turmoil, desperate to secure their affairs, while others sought to understand the supernatural disturbances within their homes. Evie's keen intuition urged her to accompany him as he faced the fears of the living. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. This will really help the channel grow. Always stay safe, but most of all, stay curious. Until next time.